With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in... Ooh, crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration. And use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Welcome to Supernatural Circumstances, the podcast where we take you down the rabbit hole into the fantastic world of the strange, the paranormal, and the unknown. I'm Morgan Knudsen. Come along with me on this week's adventure, and boy, is it an adventure. We have got the amazing Greg Bakun back here on the show, the host of Ghostbox Radio. He has not only a phenomenal show and has some really interesting people on, but his experiences with the paranormal, with cryptids, with all of this stuff, with consciousness in general, is absolutely fascinating. And many of you guys who are regular listeners know Greg. I've had him back a billion times, plan to have him back a billion more. And today we're talking about what they call CE5 experiences. Now, what the heck is that? Well, we're talking about aliens today. And many of you guys have probably remember the movie, or at least are familiar with it, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Well, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which is what we're talking about today, CE5, isn't about abductions or just looking out your window and seeing a UFO. What we're talking about today is the idea that people, using tools such as meditation and focus and intention, can actually potentially interact with aliens. So, does it sound out there? Yeah, it sounds a little out there. But when you think about the idea that consciousness really is everything, I mean, we end every show that way, we're going to be talking about using those same principles. And instead of thinking of aliens as like the little green man, but thinking about them as an extension of that conscious field. So that's what we're kind of aiming to talk about today. This is something that's just coming into popular conversation, and hopefully we'll further that. So let's get going.
No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by McAfee. Swimsuit, passport, phone, with VPN activated.
VPN?
Cell phone service is going to be spotty on vacation, so we'll be using public Wi-Fi.
Sounds sketchy.
Exactly. The networks can leave your personal info, like credit card numbers, exposed to hackers.
McAfee's secure VPN lets you browse and bank safely from wherever, whenever. Learn more at McAfee.com/online protection.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to tell you that Michelob Ultra, the official beer partner of the NBA, is bringing NBA fans closer than ever this season with chances to win great prizes, including courtside tickets. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra courtside 25 to 26. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on October 1st, 2025 and ends on June 30th, 2026. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
Well, Greg, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad we're back. I'm glad I'm back. Let's just be real about that. I'm glad I'm back. And this is a subject like we've kind of been going back and forth on for a little while, and I think it's going to end up continuing in a funny way into your show, which I'm excited for people to watch as well. And we'll cover that at the end. But we are here talking about something really unique, which is, and something people that maybe have not heard about, which is the 5th type of alien contact. So welcome.
Well, and I have to say how wonderful it is to be here with you right now, because I know that things were a little scary for a while, and I'm so happy that you are on the mend.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. And as I say, I'm glad that we're here talking about this. And I think this is a good reintroduction into me being back, because this, I think, is going to end up applying to a lot of things like gratitude and consciousness and all of that. So let's tell everybody, where we're talking about alien contact, tell everybody what this is. What is C5? What is this, or CE5? What does this mean?
So I think a lot of people, because I've talked to people about the CE5 experiment, they're all like, I don't know what that is. And the fact is, you may know it better than you think, because you've seen a movie called CE3, which is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes.
So that's a CE3, and all this comes from J. Allen Hynek's UFO classification system that he came up with a long time ago. So just really quickly, for those who are interested, like a CE1 is a sighting of a UFO at close range, and probably many of you have had that. CE2 is physical evidence, like scorch marks, radiation, imprints, if you believe the like the crop circles, stuff like that. The CE3, which is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, encounter with visible entities. CE4, abduction or direct interaction, if you're into that sort of thing.
The scary stuff, yeah.
The scary stuff. And then CE5, it goes a little bit beyond those. And basically what that is, it's a human initiated contact with extraterrestrials through conscious and voluntary means. So where CE4 may be a little bit more like you go to bed and you wake up on a ship, here CE5, what we're doing is this is exactly what we want. We are calling them to us through meditation, conscious work. Tones are a big part of it, like amazing, like love and kind of woo-woo feelings. That's a big part of it as well. So that's really what that is.
Yeah, and I think some people listening are probably thinking, "What do you mean that you're attracting them with love and fuzzies?"
With love.
But there's evidence to support this, and what I find that's really interesting, and we'll get into some of these experiments and experiences in a little bit. But what I find really interesting about this is that, we see a similar side of this in parapsychology. Like when we remove the ufology from it and we look at things like parapsychology, and I can't count the number of sessions and investigations and things like that I've done over the years, and I know you've done over the years, where setting that intention, having that meditation, having that connection with the other people in your group, all of those things have absolutely been key to a successful investigation for me. And to the point where some of the stuff that maybe if I hadn't have done it, or investigations where I hadn't done it, have been a complete bust. And I know you've had that as well. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
There's a point some time ago for me, and I'm sure, because I think we've talked about it with you as well, that, you don't necessarily look at like spirit, aliens, and like Bigfoot, forest friends, whatever you want to call them, as separate entities. They're all energy. So what you need to do, and that was my awakening, was why would I try to reach out to spirit any different than I would an alien? Don't get me wrong. I think that the alien energy is a much different sort of beast altogether. I'm not saying that it's on the same level, but the approach is the same. And what I find interesting about what you're talking about, Morgan, is the idea of we have to have our intentions set. We have to be in the right state of mind. And if you are doing this with people who are not on the same wavelength as you, that's also going to be a massive bust. It just, because like you said, people, people want to understand what that means, but they don't generally do so. And I think one of the big concerns that I have, because I was supposed to do an event over at the Rock Island Esoteric Expo in October, and I had to back out. They wanted me to do a CE5, and my biggest concern was people there. I mean, and rightly so. I'm not ripping on it, but people want to have. They feel like they need to get like physical evidence, whether it's a photograph or even an audio recording. And what we were trying to tell people is experience it. That's really what it comes down to. You have to experience it. You can't be thinking about how am I going to record this. And this is where people get lost. When I say they will know. They will know if you're trying to record it. They will know if you're like in the woods looking for a forest friend and you have a gun of any kind. They will know this stuff, and it will not happen.
100%. And I'll tell you a couple of experiences that I've had that will illustrate your point. A number of years ago, when I was doing some cryptozoology workshops in central Alberta, we had a really interesting incident where we had a group of people out. I mean, we had a group of people out every weekend. And part of what we did was we prepped everybody first because we wanted everybody to be on the same page. We wanted everybody to sort of have that clear head. And every single weekend, we had something significant go on with the group. And one of the weekends, it was one of the last weekends, I think, that we were out there, we had taken a small group out. And there was nothing. It was dead quiet. Nobody was out there. And we couldn't figure it out. It was the first time that it had happened. And I thought, this is so strange because we had developed such a great relationship with the cryptids that were there. And they were having so much fun with it that I thought, this is so odd that they're not there. Anyway, long story short, we found out that one of the people in the group had a hunting knife in their pants, and they weren't there to use it, but it was just that this is like rural Alberta. It happens. People are, but yeah. He had a hunting knife, and I thought that's the first time that had happened. And I mean, there was no way that was coincidence. I actually ended up going out to the woods later and sort of apologizing to Midspace, and I'm sure I hope they heard it, or else I just looked nuts. But it was, we just had no idea. But I thought that's so interesting. Like there was some level of awareness that it was like, this is dangerous. We're out.
It's really something. A couple months back, we investigate on a regular basis. We're one of two groups that can go and investigate this place called the Swenson Family Farm in Granite Falls, Minnesota. And we had been just for about a year and a half, we've been kind of doing the same old investigation in the house, like, are you happy to be dead? All the dumb questions and whatever else. And you get bored real quickly with that stuff because, and the spirits get bored too. And they have this house, beautiful farmhouse that was built by the man who owned it by his own hands and his daughter's hands, as well as this beautiful barn as well. And the second night of our investigation, I sat down with my team and I was just like, we got to do better. We have to do something to make us interested and whatever else. And what happened, to make also a long story short, part of the investigation took place in the barn where we went into a circle, not facing each other, and had some tripwires around us. And suddenly I recognized the energy, and that was more of cryptid energy. And suddenly I'm calling for inside the barn, can we get some eye shine? Can we get, somebody's reporting on the other side, like I'm seeing eye shine in the corner of the barn. We go out afterwards, about 3 hours later, and we're in the farm itself outside in the field, and we're calling out. We have spirit box going. We're calling out for eye shine. We start seeing it in the trees, and I have spirit box going. And I don't think this is a cryptid speaking, but through the spirit box, all of a sudden you hear this very loud, "I am Bigfoot."
Oh, the timing.
And it's just like, it's not radio. I don't think it's the cryptids, though. I think it's somebody who could very well just be having a spirit having a joke or something. But then you look back into this massive barn that's up on a hill. It's like picturesque. And there's lights coming out of it. We have equipment in there, but the lights are going off in there. And at one point, I have Spirit Box, a big ass speaker, it's right next to it. And I hear my friend Shar going, "Did you hear that scream?" And I turn everything off, and there was apparently a big, like, what we would call like a cryptid scream. We would know what it is when you hear it. It set off all the coyotes around. They start going crazy, but amongst the sound that they're making, there is some other entity making a sound with them that we're just like, we don't know what that is. And it's literally circling us, and we don't feel like, the coyotes are coming to get us. It's more of like, what is going on? And it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Wow. It's just, that's what this stuff's all about, is like what you're saying, is just having these experiences. And I think that idea of getting people to get out of their heads about it is super, super key. So when we're talking about CE5 to do with aliens or whatnot, I guess one of the things that people are probably thinking about is, are we talking about like little green man? Are we talking about, and to me, this is really, again, not putting a label on whatever this is. This is connecting with a form of consciousness. To me, whenever I think about this type of thing, and when I see these experiments that we'll talk about here in a second being done, it seems to me that it's like our consciousness interconnecting almost in a channeling type way with whatever happens to be there. Is that your kind of interpretation of this too?
I think so. I think going forward, though, if I were to do it again, based on the experience I'm going to talk about here, I think I would try to be very specific, with maybe a little bit more specific for who I'm trying to reach out to, because in my opinion, I feel like that the Greys are basically worker ants, right? I think that they are. There's I think there's levels within that as well, but I think they will come and they are very clinical with what they want to do, and I believe that's the energy that we picked up, and I feel like that's kind of void of emotion, which I think is very important when we are trying to connect. The one thing I think the mantra I have developed over the past 4 or 5 years doing this specifically is careful for what you wish for, because you will get it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always mean a good thing. You have to, I don't know about you, Morgan, but I feel like no matter how prepared you are for wanting to reach out to any of these entities, when it actually happens, it's not like, there you are, my friend. It is, for me, there is a level of a little bit of fear from me, to be perfectly honest, and unknown, and the one I'll be talking about, I have someone else with me, and I realize, did I put him inadvertently in danger?
Right. Well, tell everybody about this experience, because this is really interesting.
So the one I'm going to talk about, it will be my my third experience, and this one really kind of sticks out a little bit, because I was over at a friend's house in Wisconsin, and he doesn't live near the city, so we did this literally in his front yard. There's no houses in front of him. It's no pollution in the sky. It's absolutely incredible. And my method for doing this is everything I do includes Spirit Box. So I have a Spirit Box out there as well. And we start by setting the intention, right? We always start by setting the intention, and I'm with Spirit Box. I'm explaining what we're doing, who we want to reach out to, how we want to do this, everything else, and I'm feeling like I'm meditation wise, I'm in the zone, and all of a sudden there is this huge crash on the side of his house. And we go over, and it's a wood pile that's been sitting there for about a year and is completely demolished. And, the first instinct I think people might be like, well, that must mean that there was like an animal around or something. And that's not illogical to think that.
Sure.
But at the same time, like neither of us heard any animal scurry off or anything. That thing just collapsed. And I think in hindsight, because it took me out of everything, I think maybe in the future I would have just been like, maybe we're not meant to do this tonight. But oddly enough, John, it got him to be like, I'm going to go and get my gun. Funny enough. It's just the two of us.
He felt threatened enough that he
felt like he wanted to have some protection. And so he goes back in, brings out his gun, and we start again, and we get further, and we have Spirit Box, and I'm using the SB7 Pro on it, and just trying to move, and we start noticing off to the side, he has, there's a lot of trees all over the place, and we see some light bouncing between trees right away, and it's just like, okay. And so now I start my kind of trying to bring them forward, kind of stepping back for a second. John has had a lot of alien interactions of his own, a lot of them taking place in dreams that I do not for 1 second doubt are true alien interactions that are, he's never said this, but I do think that he may be part of a program of a hybrid between alien and human, because his dreams take place in an incubation center on a ship in different in different periods of one child's life.
Bizarre.
It's incredible. And he's had other dreams and whatnot. And I think somehow my friend Shar and myself and John are actually connected somehow with all alien stuff as well. And we've but that's a different story. So it's important that part is in there as well, because we start doing like trying to bring forward, and all of a sudden Spirit Box just says something random, like, and I don't quite remember if it's like you'll like something like you'll be seeing us soon or something like that, or just even soon. And it's like I didn't know what that meant. And John said to me, "It's incredible. I just asked the question in my mind, when will I be seeing you again?" And that was the response that came through. And I can't remember if it was you'll be seeing us soon, or we'll be there soon, or just soon, whatever. And so that right away is like, okay. So we start, trying to bring them forward. And I start, and this is where you start wondering, is this your eyes playing tricks on you? But around us is this kind of a semicircle of kind of dashes of light that are starting to form. They're not very tall. You could see black eyes coming through them, like coming through these dashes of light, and like they're forming around us.
Oh my God.
And I said to John, I said, I don't know if this is my eyes, but I'm seeing, and I explained what I'm seeing, and he said to me, he literally said to me, "I hate you right now because I was hoping that I was the only one seeing this." And
I've got goosebumps, Greg. I'm just saying.
It was just, there's semicircle, but the thing is that they didn't advance. And this is where I was, the whole thing, careful for what you wish for, because the thing is, it's like, what do they want to do? The whole hope here is that it's all peaceful, but when it's not one, but like a kind of a semicircle, you're kind of wondering, are we going to be taken, or is there another plan? We just don't know. And I'm like, I wanted to do this. I've been telling John I want to do this, and now I feel like I'm putting John in danger, possibly. Those are things that are kind of going through my mind, and like I said, careful for what you wish for. John had been, his dreams was with different types of aliens, like, and I can't remember which ones exactly, but they're more humanoid. And he theorized they didn't advance because he felt that other energy was there protecting us.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's true or not. And I don't think he's like, that's 100% what it is. I think we're theorizing there. And, there gets to a point where you're just like, I'm kind of done with this. I don't know what else is going to happen here. And so you think that would be the end of it. And
no.
So we go inside, and it's so weird because John's wife, Chris, is inside the house. And I don't know if you remember like being a kid and you have these awesome experiences and you get home and your mom or dad asks you like, well, how was your little, fun outing at the park? And you just had the greatest time of your life and you're just feeling like kind of like they don't even understand. They don't even understand what we just went through. So we get inside and Chris like, so how was your little alien thing? I was just like, it's hard. Now, how do you explain it when they start off like that? But she said, did you come in because of the thunderstorm? And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, well, there's a thunderstorm out there, right? And I'm like, no. And she goes, well, because I'm seeing nothing. I'm seeing a lot of lightning outside. And she's looking to the backyard and we're in the front yard. There's no lightning. There's no lightning at all. Meanwhile, I go into the restroom and on my head, there's always been this kind of crease. I don't know what it's for, but I don't know what it's for.
It's the abduction you don't remember, Greg.
Yeah, right. And when they split my skin off my skull. But I go in there and it's really red and sore. And it's just like, I don't know what that is. I mean, why is that even there? But so I come back. I'm like, yeah, I kind of look beaten a little bit. But the whole lightning thing, it wasn't until I had someone on my show and they're talking about their experiences with alien abduction and stuff. And they talked about lightning. And I never heard that before. That apparently that is something that can happen, is that there is like lightning, what looks like lightning flashes. We get Chris goes off to bed, and John and I are just sitting at his breakfast nook. There's myself, an empty chair, and him at the breakfast bar, and we're just kind of talking over stuff. And I happen to look down, and there's this little ball of light, and it's just moving around in the chair. And I thought, well, that's weird. And I thought, well, it probably is. Maybe it's some kind of reflection from like a watch face, or he has glasses on or something. And when he's moving, that it's moving the light and stuff. And I turn and look at John, only to see John staring at it too. And we're just like, I'm like, what the is that? And it goes up the back of the chair, down the chair to the floor, and it just goes away into another room. and as I try to be jokey about this stuff to him, just to try to keep it light, I'm just like, well, I'm glad I don't live here. Keep yourself
sane.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad I don't live here, John. And he's just like, I live here, And it's just, it's really crazy. And it's, and it had kind of for a while gave me second thoughts about doing it again, only because you got to be careful with this stuff. And we see this so often with people within like just like trying to get spirit interaction and stuff. You see the people who provoke, and I've always said the people who provoke generally are probably the ones who don't actually believe, so that they feel like they can do so. And I kind of wonder if there was a little bit of that with me with the CE5 of like, well, I'd be really surprised if something, I mean, I believe, but I'd be
you're
really
not
surprised
thinking
if
that
something
something, you're not thinking that something is going to show up like that. And that's what gets me with these experiences that people are having, and that have been documented, that are, going out to places like the Joshua Tree or Mount Shasta, whatever, that are sitting down and doing this, is that the rate of things actually happening, if you do what we're talking about, which is, the meditation and the alignment and all of that stuff, is really high. And I that's one of the things that has surprised me. So you get like these sort of UFO hunters and stuff that are, going out there and hoping to get something with a camera and whatever, and it's rare. And then you get these CE5 experiments, and it ain't so rare anymore.
No, it isn't. It isn't, and that's the thing too. It's like, and when I was about to do that event in Rock Island, Illinois, it was like, I don't know, because at the same time too, it's like I just, and this is something that I think I'm going to be very careful about in the future. It's like, I think people generally have good intentions, but the thing is like when I was announcing it and I was talking through the social media of the convention, and you have somebody saying, I got this sort of helmet thing I'm going to use, and someone else like, I got this thing I'm going to use, I got this thing I'm going to use. It's like, you don't understand. You got to be one voice. You have to be one thought when you do this. It can't be 5 different experiments. It has to be one person leading it and everyone being on the same page with how we move forward.
100%. 100%. And like we mentioned at the beginning, I'm sure the audience is going to think we're a bit of a broken record, but that intention setting is everything. And like, I mean, even in the parapsychology side, I get asked a lot, like whether I'm doing a workshop or whatever, I get asked a lot, well, what do you do to, protect yourself, air quotes, and whatnot. And I just tell them, I'm like, this is really about your own intention and vibration. It's not about the thing you bring with you. This is we're talking about consciousness and consciousness interaction, whether we want to label it as an alien, whether we want to label it whatever. There's something is showing up. And I know like I haven't had a lot of like UFO experiences, but I had one here. Well, actually my mom had it and I semi had it because I think the reason for it, just in the last couple of weeks, as a lot of people listening know, I was like super sick the last couple of weeks and in the hospital. And what was so interesting is that for the last number of years, a group of us here have been chatting with who we call the coaches. They're entities that we chat through various means, whether it be audio, Ouija board, all this stuff. We know them extremely well. And what's really interesting is that 2 of them have come forward and said, we are not from here. And they are lovely. They're some of the coaches that show up the most. Mm-hmm. But they have said, we are not from here. And it threw me for a loop when that first happened, because I had not really been involved in any of this stuff. And then the Institute of Noetic Sciences, not that long ago, put out a call for people who had channeling experiences with ETs. And I thought, this is really interesting. So this isn't just a one-off that these beings are chatting. So anyway, we've known them for a very long time, gone back and forth, had many conversations. And when I was in the hospital, needless to say, super sick, had no idea that, I guess they all knew. And the night that I came home from the hospital the second time, it was really interesting. My mom woke up at like 4 a.m. and looked out our window, and our window faces like onto this woods, and she saw these bright orange and white lights show up over top of the woods. And it wasn't an airplane. Like, we're on a flight path, so we can like see the planes going back and forth here. It wasn't an airplane. It was just came in, and it was just sort of sitting there. And I thought, that's so interesting. I was so sad that I missed it because I was asleep. But when I was able to get back on the board, interestingly enough, one of the entities that seems to be somewhat alien in origin, just calls itself X, showed up. And X had not shown up on the board for, God, probably a year. And showed up, and I was like, X, I was like, surprising to see you. How, you good? What's up? Like, it's a shock. And then I realized, I was like, was that you the other night? He said, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was, so I thanked him profusely, because I think it was, hey, he got the word and he's checking up. But it was remarkable that this ship just showed up over the, and never happened before. Like, we've never seen it before. We don't get UFOs. We don't get, like, we're in the middle of the city, right?
Yeah.
So, but I thought
beautiful.
Isn't that the coolest thing? And it was like,
really
man,
is.
It was amazing. And just, yeah, you can't help but feel like just really loved and looked after that.
Like, I was going to say, you have like high powered friends.
Friends in high places.
I know people,
Yeah. It was really cool. But I mean, this has been, years of established contact that I've worked on for, I wouldn't say daily, but close to daily. It's been just a constant commitment. So, I mean, they're just extended family is what, to me, is what they are. But the ufology side of it surprised the hell out of me because, as I say, I always associate this stuff with more of the parapsychology side. I don't think about it in that way. It took me a while to get my head around that but everything is consciousness. Every bloody show with that phrase, you'd think I'd figure it out, but it was another mental leap. But it's this overall connection to everything. So when we're talking about this stuff, I guess there's probably people listening that are thinking this. How then do we make peace or make sense of the CE5 stuff, if that's the case, and we're having these wonderful experiences, and the alien abduction cases that we hear about that are just so horrific? What do you make of that? How do you reconcile these?
I look at it this way: is that first of all, it's just like every human is not the same, and you have people who are in military that have orders that they need to follow. That there's hierarchies, there's all sorts of things. We don't have necessarily experiments where we bring military to our houses or anything, that are just because like love and whatever. I mean, they do what they're supposed to do. And that's where I think that like CE4 and CE5 really kind of show the differences where, yeah, you get this experience with alien with a CE4, but it's not going to be maybe what you want it to be. And C5 is we're asking for it, and I just feel like that. I feel like culture has made it look like that. All aliens dress the same, all aliens look the same, act the same, and it's just like that's not the case. That's not the case at all, and that's why also with the stuff that I did in Wisconsin with John. That's also why it was a little scary because we're putting out the call and our intention is to bring back the most, peaceful, loving, wonderful entities of all time. But what if we're bringing out, a squadron of whatever that wants to, do experiments on us or something? I'm not saying that that's the norm, but I don't think that's something that we should necessarily not think, not rule out personally. But I'm always kind of thinking about that kind of stuff as well. Like what else could possibly happen? And maybe that's also why maybe that does happen, because that's the whole point of a CE5 is you have to have a very strong and focused idea of what you want to do. So if there's any doubt in your mind, you might bring that in as well.
Yeah, I think that's the respect side of it is so important with stuff like this, because at the end of the day, we have no idea who they are. No clue. Like we really have no clue. It's almost like, chatting to somebody on the internet, right? Like, and we don't know who they are. And at the end of the day, and I think with, until you're face to face, knee to knee, having those in-person interactions, knowing that like it really is something that people need to be very, very wary of. I mean, there's enough of these missing 411 cases that are out there that you wonder how many of it, how much of it is stuff that's that's being brought on, right, by things like that. And I think that's where, and why both of us keep drilling down on intention, clarity of mind. What are you attracting? Look at your life around you and figure out where you are, what you're attracting, because that's going to be a mirror of what you get with the paranormal, in my experience. It's like, if you are in a bad place, don't get into this stuff. Just leave it alone. Yeah, because it ain't going to get any better. That's the one thing I've told my clients over the years for, I don't know how long, 25 years, is that if the one thing that all of this stuff will do for you is it will show you exactly where you are, which is which is a great gift because it'll either say, yes, I'm going in the right direction, or man, do I ever need to clean this up. But it's, but I can't help but feel that this stuff is really an explosion of that as well. It's, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I would agree. I mean, it's just, I remember the first one I did, which I just was very simply, I didn't even know it was a CE5. I was just doing one of my Facebook Spirit Box sessions. I'm like, you know what, tonight, let's see if we can reach an alien. And, it starts as simple as that. And what ends up happening is that Spirit Box starts acting in ways that you don't expect. And then you have it at the fastest speed. It starts going faster than the fastest speed, which is like, why is that happening? And then I hear through the Spirit Box, we are coming. And I said, are you coming to Earth? Or are you coming for me? Ha ha ha. And the response was, for you. And
okay, I just got chills. I have to interrupt you for a second because twice through my connection, I have received the same thing.
Well, have you really?
Yes. I have, oh my God, I have goosebumps right now. Yeah, I've received the same message twice. And it was, I am coming. I am coming.
What was the aftermath to that? What was the result?
We would ask about it, and we have a special made board that's got various words and emojis and all this stuff on it, so we can have a clear conversation. And they would repeatedly go to the word trust, trust. So yeah, it's been sort of I wouldn't say there's been like an event that's happened, but it's been twice that I've received that, and it's like, I mean, we think we saw a UAP here, so I don't know, but that when you said that just gave me goosebumps. So sorry for interrupting, but that was
no. I mean, because it's true, and like it sounds like that the event is yet to come for you.
That's what I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, it's not quite there yet. And that night though, that I started to develop a massive headache. People in the comments were talking about that they were not feeling well, which was really strange. My phone at the time fried for no reason. I wasn't using it, but it just died.
Weird.
And then so that night, my cat Linus, he would have been everywhere, but that night he disappeared. He just hid. And that's always when I do these Spirit Box sessions, used to always be a really good sign of knowing what was coming in the house based on Linus.
Sure.
So I didn't see him till the next day actually, but there's that, have you ever seen like Predator or Signs and the camouflage that goes over them? I've literally felt like that was in my house that night, that there was someone in the house with me. And I felt like that whole night sleeping in my room that there was somebody in the corner. And it could very well be my mind. I'm not afraid to throw that stuff out there and question it all. But then the next day, I'm just sitting there working on stuff, and all of a sudden, blood starts coming out of my nose. And what on earth is this about? And I had Kathleen Martin on my show, and after the show, I was just kind of trying to just see what she thought about this. She goes, "Oh yeah, you were abducted." No. And I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah.
But she just was like, "No, that's a good. That's like a lot of the hallmarks of that sort of thing." And I'm just like,
"Great."
Yeah, I'm like, well, they didn't put anything in me. I'm not bionic or anything, and that's I could use the help, quite frankly. But so yeah, I mean, it was crazy, but it was interesting though. After that, all sorts of things started to kind of go pear-shaped for me. For a period, for quite some time, and I don't know if it's from that or from other things, but that's where then just like started to try to bring in the guardian angels and stuff to help, because I was near death sick at that point afterwards, and that's a whole different story. But there, it just all sorts of weirdness came from that.
Yeah. That seems to be, like she was saying, so some of the hallmarks of these encounters just in general is that it doesn't really seem to stop at one thing, which I think is one of the things that people need to take note about is once you kind of crack that door open, it's very hard to close it.
Yes.
And, a lot of the things that you're describing, even down to, the phone dying, the lights showing up, throughout a lot of these cases, weird electromagnetic anomalies are present. And we see them too. I mean, we've talked before about our cryptid encounters and stuff like that, where there's been these weird sort of electromagnetic anomalies that have come with these things,
yes.
which again is another parallel to so many of the other things like hauntings, like cryptid stuff. Like there's so many parallels that seem to interconnect, and you can't really ignore the overlap. The overlap is so glaring that I think it just makes sense to me as a wild a notion as I think it might come across to some people, is to treat some of these alien encounters with the same type of dealings with consciousness that we do in other areas. But when you look at the overlap of similarities, it's really, really hard to ignore them. When you've got these anomalous lights showing up, if you had have said, I feel like my house is haunted, and given the same description, I felt like somebody was watching me from the corner. I was hearing things. I was saying, like, all this stuff was happening. I mean, you could put the label of a haunting on that, and it's identical.
Yes. Well, and that's, I thought to myself, and I wonder if you felt the same way once you kind of had that breakthrough moment of energy is energy, and that why would we approach any of these any differently? That was my first thought, is how many times have I been in a paranormal investigation? I've actually been dealing with perhaps alien energy and not like, spirits of those who have passed sort of energy, because you're right. It's absolutely the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, the only difference really is that, in these cases, we're kind of like looking up, trying to figure out what it is instead of, but maybe we shouldn't be looking up. I mean, we get the anomalies in terms of, the lights and the typical UFO sightings and things like that, but maybe we're just approaching this really, really wrong. I mean, when we look back at, I think of like the Gateway experiments that they did with the CIA, with Bob Monroe, and how he was teaching so many of these agents and whatnot to be able to remote view and whatnot. And some of the things that they were coming back with and saying, like, I'm seeing these beings I don't understand. And if anybody's interested in reading that, the CIA report about the Gateway project is online. You guys can actually download the report. It's really interesting. But these agents were coming back and saying, man, like, I don't know what this is. I saw this thing. And, of course, Robert Monroe's going like, yeah, like that's what this is. That's what, that's what you're having access to. But it's, it's all connected.
Do you, when I do, if I'm doing paranormal investigations now, and the Swenson farm is a great example of it, I will intersperse, like I will go between trying to reach out to spirit energy and like cryptid energy, or like to now it's just more like, well, okay, I think this is actually what it feels more like now, and instead of being like, this isn't the place for it. I know it kind of frustrates some people I'm with, because I am changing on a dime here a little bit, but I'm also just going with what I'm feeling, and because I just want to get to the bottom. Who's in here with us? Are you watching us? What's the point here? Can I also say real fast too, because you mentioned once you open the door, you can't shut it. As I asked Kathleen as well, I said, I have this theory that once you have this alien encounter, that you're kind of on there. You're not only you, but your family in generations now are on like the watch list going forward. And she's like, oh, absolutely. And I theorized that perhaps Betty and Barney Hill, they were able to see this and have this encounter, but who knows how long this relationship the family had with alien energy, how far back that goes. It could go back generations for all we know.
That's a really, really, really good point. And to that point, which is interesting, just to touch back on the coaches a little bit, Like one of the entities that comes through for me often is my great-great-grandfather. And what's interesting about that is that one of the other entities that comes through was his best friend, a fellow by the name of E.J. Pratt, and he was a poet. And when he first came through, we asked who this was, and he said E.J. No, I didn't know who E.J. was. I had no clue. I was like, EJ, is there a relationship between him and AD and whatever? And it turns out, yeah, they were like best buddies. And both AD was a poet as well, so it made sense. But it was interesting to see sort of the lineage come down and like the interconnections that all of these entities that I've been fortunate enough to connect with have together. I mean, it's not just a one-off. It's not just somebody I've never met or they've never met. It's like, no, this is somebody they were buddies with, and it's historically documented, and it's like, so I mean, to me, it just it just makes sense. I think if you've got somebody who's interested in that connection and is open enough to it, and I honestly think they're looking for people that are not going to freak out.
Yes.
They're looking for people that are like level-headed, that want just to have a good conversation. And once that connection happens, I mean, why would you let it go? I wouldn't let it go if I was in non-physical. There's no way.
No. And, it's also interesting too that, what I'm calling a CE5, with what you have been experiencing with X, which in my mind is a CE5, but you would never look at it that way because this has been going on. This is just communication. This is just reaching out to someone that you care about.
100%. 100%. And it's I mean, to me, they're just the extension of family, like when the group sits down and we chat with them, and or sometimes it'll just be me and I'll sit down and have a connection with them. And they're there very quickly. As long as I can, clear my mind and sit and be peaceful, and very quickly something shows up or starts happening, or Galen, my little snake, he'll see something in the room. We had an amazing experience. This was a good number of months back now, but there was 5 of us sitting at the table, and we had the board out, and Galen, interestingly enough, loves doing this. Like if he gets a chance, he's right in there with everybody else. And everybody was sort of asking questions and whatnot. And I said to Galen, I'm like, go ahead, you go ask a question, And he, in the middle of the table, he got up and he sat up, he periscoped up about 2 feet. And it was almost like he went into this complete like medium trance. It was the most fascinating thing. Everybody at the table was staring at him and going like, this is wild. And he sat there and he stood, and I mean, snakes can't close their eyes, but if he could have closed his eyes, he would have had his eyes closed. And he sat there and he was perfectly still for probably 5 minutes. And all of a sudden it was like whatever it was lifted, and he sort of sat back up, and it was like, I'm done. And then he came back over, sat down on my lap. Didn't happen again for the rest of the evening. Didn't happen before, has never happened since. Somebody was talking to him.
Believe it.
Yeah, he was having an absolute conversation. It was phenomenal. It was just phenomenal. Blew everybody's mind.
At some time we have to have a conversation about just like pets in the afterlife also. Luckily Galen's not there, but Linus is. And Linus will have been gone a year in December. The amount of times that he's appeared to me and other people, including pet mediums, to give me messages is insane. Phenomenal. Even showing up in a dream this last week with 2 other animals in the dream, turns out that they are pets of a friend of mine who passed away. And we were talking about them, and literally Linus did a dream and came in my dream to show me that they are all right.
That's unbelievable.
I don't know if I've ever known any living, anything that's been living to master the afterlife as well as my cat Linus.
Yeah, it's like, and it's interesting too, because cats, like, of course, in the Egyptian lore and stuff, they are the the beings that go between, you know, and it's like, but the animals do. It's so natural for them. It's so easy for them. And I think when we can take lessons, even in regards to I think the CE5 experiences, is that for them, it is simple, you know, and it's people that make this really complicated. You know, we want to stick everything in a box, and, you know, aliens are little green men that drive around in spaceships, and how can this be and it's just like, nope, aliens don't even have to have a physical body. It could be just consciousness. We don't know. And it's like, I think once people can kind of lift from that, then the better. So if people are like interested in this and they want to get more involved, Greg, what do they do? What do you recommend that they do? Is there something what is it that they have to go through?
I think what they should really do at the very least is just seek out other people who've done it, and talk to them, because I know there is a handbook. There's a CE5 handbook out there, and if I were smart, I would have had it right here to show you. But it is literally called the CE5 handbook. And that's where I kind of just went through, and a lot of the stuff we're talking about is in this. It was gifted to me, that made me feel like that I really needed to, this is something I can do. Do the research, go online and do the research and find out, what are people experiencing with it, good or bad. And also I think you have to ask yourself, why do I want to do this?
That's a good question.
It is. I think it is a good question. And it's like, are you doing this because you want to then tell everyone? And it's kind of hypocritical for me to say that, as here I am right now telling everybody about it. I see the irony, trust me. But, there's so many people who they want to turn it into like a Facebook event or something like that. And I was there, and it doesn't take long to kind of realize this is very different, and it's actually a rather intimate affair. So you want to, you got to tread carefully, and also think about how to protect yourself in these situations, and not with guns. I mean, you're probably not going to get much out of it. I was surprised we got anything with John's gun, but at the same time, it's his house. It's his, it made him feel better. Absolutely. And he knows what he's doing with them anyway. So, it's just how it is. But, check out some resources. It's weird. I actually was at UFO days in Wisconsin back in the summer, and there was a guy who had a big tent there that said CE5 on it, and I'm like, oh, I want to talk to him. I want to share information, and so I go up to him. I'm like, so you do CE5s? He's like, yep. I'm like, do you have any, like, I do them as well. Do you have any? Do you want to share like experiences and stuff? Yeah, like literally, it's like, I don't know. It's like, why do you have a tent? It's not even like a table; it's a tent. And it's like, well, have you had any luck trying? I've tried this. Have you tried that? No. Like, okay, well,
here.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, yeah. See you later, I guess. Yeah. I don't know, man. So yeah, it's weird, and I don't know. I took that a little bit like maybe he cracked the nut or something, so to speak, and that he didn't want to share anything, which totally fine, whatever. But it's. But
then why are you at a convention? Like
big sign saying CE5 experiments, just whatever.
People. Very, very, very. People. Yeah, people. Some people's children. Telling you. Well, this has been amazing, and we're going to continue talking about sort of an extension of this on Ghostbox Radio soon as well. So we'll repost that also, because this is such an interesting conversation, and I'm not done. So I'm glad we're doing another thing. This has been great, Greg, and we'll put links to everything in the show notes for people. So if they want to get the book, then they can get the book as well. So. This has been awesome, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do?
I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault, a new series streaming now, only on Peacock.
In Walmart's Huluville, everyone ready their cart. Amazing Black Friday deals are about to start. Online and in the app, such great deals to explore. Everything you love from tech, toys, and more. The days to save and the ones to remember. It's only the 25th to the 30th of November. Set your alarms. Don't miss out. These deals are epic, without a doubt. The Who's are all ready, but are you? Walmart Black Friday deals await. Who knew?
Hello, I'm Diane Morgan. If you know who I am, you know who I am. If you don't, who cares? I'm here to explain Italian Time, a holiday phenomenon where Italians throw away their clocks and gather for eternity with San Pellegrino. I've been at this party so long that I've eaten 5 courses, hugged someone's grandma twice, and been offered a job in the family restaurant. So this holiday season, make sure to bring enough San Pellegrino to last you through the meal, the after meal, and the entire goodbye ritual. San Pellegrino, holiday on Italian Time.
Well, what an interesting conversation with Greg. Man, I'm telling you, this is a new era, I think, of science, and as we're kind of moving into the idea that everything really is connected, everything really is consciousness, this is something to really take a look at. One of the people who's taken a lot of heat for this approach, and many of you will know this name, is Dr. Stephen Greer. Now, many people think, okay, the guy's a quack. You know, a lot of people have many issues with what he does. But the reality is that many of his groups that he has taken to places like Mount Shasta and many others that over the years, many groups have come back with some very interesting results, including photographs, really interesting encounters, lights that nobody can explain. Many of the things that Greg was talking about have been caught on film and seen by mass witnesses. So is it mass hallucination? Well, that's a stretch. And many people who use that term don't actually realize what mass hallucination actually entails. But the reality is that there's an overlap, you know, as Greg and I were talking about in the show, of all of these different types of phenomenon. And I've seen this in cultures throughout my teaching career, even when I was doing teaching in post-secondary, talking about social work, psychology, and belief systems. I noticed this a lot when I was talking about parapsychology with a lot of these students, where they would be arguing about various experiences within their culture. Well, this is my story. No, this is my story. This is my culture's story. But the reality is a lot of this phenomenon really does transcend that. It transcends labels. It transcends cultures. This is a really human experience. And as much as our ego wants to take this over and kind of mold this into a box, the reality is all of this really, really is connected. And that's what I really hope to get across with this episode today, is that, you know, no matter where you stand on aliens or the CE5 stuff, I think there's a lesson in this for everybody. And I'm really interested to continue my own journey with these types of encounters. I've had some pretty interesting stuff happen as well, as you guys heard. And I'm interested to see maybe if you guys have had experiences as well with this type of thing. So please join us in Supernatural Circumstances after the show on Facebook and share some of your experiences with this if you've had any. I'm very, very curious. So I'm always curious. That's why I'm doing this show. That's why we do this every week, isn't it, guys? Yeah. So anyway, thank you for joining me on this eerie and interesting expedition, dear listeners. And remember, there is no line between the natural and the supernatural. All is consciousness. Until next time, stay curious, friends. Supernatural Circumstances is a co-production of Entity Seeker, Paranormal Research and Teachings, and the 20th Plane. This podcast is a part of the Curious Cast podcast network. You can find out more about me, Morgan Knudsen, and book me for live appearances at entityseeker.ca. You can also email the show at supernaturalcircumstances.com.